What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 171 of the Nest Podcast. It's me, your boy, the People's Champ, Brandon Brewer. And tonight, Zach has the night off. It is his wedding anniversary, so he's out on a hot date right now, hoping that he's going to have a successful evening with his lovely wife. And it's going to be a good show, though. I've got a longtime friend of the show, and a longtime listener and a longtime contributor to the show, Harvey Reed, that's going to be coming on here in just a little bit. I'm sure longtime listeners have heard me talk about Harvey and all that. He's also involved in our fantasy football league, so he knows the ins and outs of what's going on in our fantasy football world. We're also going to have a few other guests that may be stopping by throughout the show, so it's going to be an exciting one. You're going to hear a lot of opinions, a lot of different voices coming in and out, and I'll do my best to try to introduce people as they do come on. Tonight's episode is entitled Never Forget Your First. And everybody will always remember their first. You remember your first car. You remember your first kiss. You remember the first time that you got lucky. You remember all of your important firsts in life. And this week, we're going to be talking about a lot of firsts because we saw some significant firsts in week 10 of the NFL schedule. With that being said, I'd like to go ahead and bring in one of our first guests of the night. Like I said, longtime friend of the show and part-time contributor to the show. And he's also making his very first official visit, his debut on the Nest Podcast. And that is Mr. Harvey Reed. Harvey, what is up, my man? How you doing tonight?
Man, I'm doing all right, brother. Just chilling. Thank you for the invite and having me. I'm just trying to pick up where Zach would have been carrying some weight here.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming on. Like I said, Zach's anniversary is tonight, so we do wish them the best. Happy anniversary to them.
Happy anniversary, Zach.
And we'll get into it. We'll do our best. And I see that we also have another one of our guests already joining us in here, and he is one of the admins at the NFL Trash Talk Crazy group, and they like to talk about, as you could imagine, the NFL and all the craziness that happens behind the scenes and on the field. And this man right here is known simply as the Godfather. So, Jim, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
Hey, how's it going, brother?
Good. Oh, I see those colors you're rocking, and I am a fan. Much better than the guy on the top of the screen. That's that Mac 10
Just
jersey.
got it today.
Okay. Just got it today?
Yep.
I'm gonna say you can look that way and see Wu-Tang Clan. You don't have to make it sports tonight.
Hey, just so you know, you're in good company, my man.
You know, that's my boom.
he did boom this week. We'll get into that. But let's talk about week 10. There were a lot of notable firsts in the NFL this week. First off, we had the first tie of the 2021 schedule between the Lions and the Steelers. This was a game that going into it, we thought, oh, well, the Steelers are just going to be able to roll over the Lions because they haven't won anything all year. Lo and behold, right before the game, we find out Big Ben isn't going to be able to play. He's on the COVID list. He's not going to make it. All of a sudden, there's some doubt. Mason Rudolph is going to come in and be the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. We know from last year that dude sucks and he can't really do anything. So now there's some doubt. Maybe Dan Campbell is finally going to get his first win as the head coach of the Detroit Lions. Maybe Jared Goff is going to get that first dub. Well, they didn't, but at least they didn't lose. What?
Oh, come on.
That's a kiss your sister loss. It's still a loss.
What did you guys think when you looked up and saw that it was 16-16 in overtime?
Godfather goes first because
Well,
he's captain.
I was just like in awe. I mean, like, wait a minute. Who even ties with the Lions? Who does that? The Steelers, they may have to take their terrible towels and put them over their heads for a few weeks because that was awfully embarrassing. I'm sorry. They should have kicked their asses and be done with it.
I absolutely agree. Najee Harris is making a race out of the Rookie of the Year offensive side with Jamar Chase, which, I mean, normal seasons, Jamar Chase would have already ran away with this. But with Najee Harris on that team and just knowing that game management would have won that game, I was surprised to see Mike Tomlin making like critically like bad judgment decisions. Like he's typically been a kind of a, I would say, play it safe type coach, run first, like let your defense win for you, check down with Ben, acknowledge that he's not throwing it to Juju anymore. You know what I mean? So, uh, and Jared Goff is just horrible. Like, and I'm sorry to any Detroit fans and Jared Goff himself if he happens to see this dude, but like you picked the wrong, like you picked the wrong career. The Lions should have won that game like 4 or 5 times, right?
They should have, yeah.
Yep,
They had 2 takeaways in overtime and couldn't capitalize. They have a missed field goal. So yeah, it's just it was terrible. Yeah, I agree. Just shows why the Rams got rid of them. Absolutely.
And was it like how many yards? Like a 38 field yard attempt or something like real, not like a 45 or 50 or 66 like the other teams been going 38 and he couldn't capitalize on that.
I'm starting to think that there might be something to what he just pointed out, because if those of you that don't know, I happen to unfortunately be a Saints fan, which means this week chip shots cost me potentially a win. I mean, you could say the game script would have went differently had they made those extra points, but for years it's been automatically just assumed that we would get that extra point because we've had good kickers. And this year has been a year that's highlighted how important it is to have a good kicker. And you see these teams that win these close games, Buffalo, Baltimore, your teams that are, competing for another shot at the playoffs, they all have good kickers,
That's a very good point. And I've been saying on the show for a long time that kickers' lives matter. My co-host Zach, he's in favor of just doing away with kickers altogether and just making everybody go for the 2-point conversion. I think that kickers are super valuable to your team. You mentioned Justin Tucker. The Ravens don't win that game if he doesn't hit a 66-yard field goal.
Mm-hmm.
You lose a game if he doesn't set an NFL record. It's crazy.
Yeah,
that's a lot of pressure.
Also, the whole thing about doing away with kickers, it's like it's disrespectful to people like you that actually had a boot when you were growing up and knew how to kick a ball, because I couldn't. But when my teammates were able to punt the ball down and we were able to get the ball inside the 10-yard line, that made a lot of difference in how the games turned out. So
That's
even
true.
your punters, your kickers, I think they were very underrated. And I do see the game going toward that 2-point conversion style a lot more, the numbers analytics type thing happening. But I like the coaches like Belichick. You won't see him going for 2 unless it's absolutely necessary.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Another one of the first that we saw this week in week 10 was the first Snow Bowl of the year. And that was between the Seattle Seahawks and the Green Bay Packers up in the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. And in this game alone, we saw several firsts. You'll notice a trend tonight. We're talking a lot about these firsts. Aaron Rodgers, his first game back from COVID. Now, this one was met with a bit of controversy because of the whole vaccination status and all that stuff. But he came out. He looked pretty piss poor to start the game, let's be honest. But he ended up settling in, and they won the game pretty decisively in the end. We also saw that A.J. Dillon shined whenever he got to come in off the bench to replace an injured Aaron Jones, who went down with a possible MCL injury, and he completed his first Lambeau leap. Last year, if you remember, against the Tennessee Titans, he attempted to make the Lambeau leap, and he didn't quite make it.
I don't remember. That's funny, though.
So he made sure that he made it this time by throwing himself as high as he could up into the stands and nearly took out the entire first row. And in this game, it was also the first time that I've ever seen a player get ejected from the game and then return to his team's huddle. Did you guys see the stunt that DK Metcalf pulled?
No.
I did not. No.
So DK Metcalf, he's an aggressive player. He's a house of a man anyway. He was all up in the Packers player's face. He was grabbing his face mask, shaking it, and all this stuff. He got tossed from the game. However, they didn't escort him to the locker room. They just ejected him from the game, and he was standing on the sidelines. A couple plays later, he just meanders his way back into the huddle like he's going to get back in the game. He didn't go full on Bobby Valentine and put on a disguise. Like he didn't get another jersey and try to slip it on or anything. He was out there being himself. But that was the first time I've ever seen a guy get ejected and still try to insert himself back in the game. And sadly for Seahawks fans, it's the first time that Russell Wilson has ever been shut out in a professional football game. So a lot of firsts to digest there. Guys, what did you think of that game and that outcome, and how it's going to go long-term for the Packers, who are driving the ship in the NFC? Harvey, you want to kick this one off?
Sure. Leading up to this game, and like actually a couple weeks prior to this game, I've noticed a trend with Green Bay. They had re-signed Aaron Jones to a new contract deal, I'm pretty sure. So like he's got his max money now, right? It looked like they were running Dillon to the extent that they wanted to show that he was like a starter on any other team. And I don't know if this was playing into the factor of like Aaron Rodgers maybe not being there next year at quarterback, not having confidence in Jordan Love. But I was wondering at one point if that was preparation to try to trade him and a draft pick to move up to get the guy they wanted or whatnot when Aaron does leave. But now that Aaron Jones is out, you've got A.J. Dillon, who's going to be taking some of the most meaningful carries in the NFC for who knows how long of a stretch. I mean, I know Green Bay fans don't want it to be too terribly long because Aaron Jones is really efficient. But that game was crazy as from the Seattle side of it, to see Russell get shut out and just look. They didn't have a passing game. I've never seen that.
Yeah, it was weird. It makes you wonder if the finger still wasn't healed up and he wasn't able to grip the ball and throw it accurately. You are right about the Aaron Jones thing. He did sign for 4 years, $48 million contract. He's not free agent eligible until 2025. So that would be an interesting tactic if that's what Gunther Kuntz was attempting to pull off there, is showcase his talents and then try to trade him knowing that they had Dillon in the wings. Godfather, what did you think about this game?
I didn't see the game, so I can't really speak much about it. But I will tell you about Green Bay. They're a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah,
that's for sure. And they pretty much always have been. They've always had that power behind them. One of the names, in NFL. You hear about Patriots, the teams that have done very, very well for themselves in the past 10 years or so, but I think they're going someplace. Now, I even made a post in my group that says Patriots versus Green Bay in the Super Bowl, fight me. All right, that's not going to happen, but something? I put it out there, just a little seed of thought.
I've heard worse predictions, like even this week. You know what I mean? Mac Jones looks fantastic. I'm sorry. I don't know. That was the only game that I got to see like an extended period of his action really this season. But I mean, every pass he needed to complete, he completed, and it was on the money. And it was just like right where the receiver needed it to be so that they could catch it in stride. Like, it just looks like he's been out there for years. And I'm not going to say he's going to have any kind of like Brady-esque rise to the top or anything like that, but I could definitely see him keeping his starting job for some years.
Yeah. Well, we're definitely going to get into some Mac Jones talk here in just a moment, fellas, but let's slow our roll just a little bit. And we've got to talk about another first. Well, it's more of a first, but it's also an again, because Cam Newton got back in the end zone as a member of the Carolina Panthers for the first time since re-signing with the team on Thursday. He went out there 3 days after being signed and dropped 2 touchdowns against the Arizona Cardinals. Pretty grand welcome back to the Queen City for Cam Newton. Of course, he took off his helmet and reverted back to a 12-year-old Cam Newton, and his voice cracked when he screamed, "I'm back." But I'm not going to fault him. He had all kinds of excitement and I guess emotions running through his body at that time. Yeah. And
did you see CMC behind him?
Oh yeah.
Oh man, I think he was more happy. Like, that's crazy, but yeah, he was really happy to see Cam back there with him.
And, Robbie Anderson was the recipient of the touchdown pass from Cam Newton. So they got him back going in this lineup. So the Panthers, we talked about the Packers kind of riding the ship or steering the ship in the NFC. The Panthers right now, if the season ended today, they're the 7 seed. They're in the playoffs. This is a team that they could roll with some momentum in this back half of the season, and they could make a little bit of a run. Imagine that. Cam Newton, a guy that's been unemployed for the entire season up until Thursday, and he's going to come in there and lead the Panthers to a playoff berth. That would be something to see.
But where was that excitement from him when he was on our team? I'm saying if we had that, I think that much energy from him and I guess knowledge when he was with the Patriots, I think he might be in a different, I don't know.
I would argue that he did bring that. He did bring that energy and he did bring that excitement because he was out there and he was dancing in practices. He was doing his Superman when he did get in the end zone. The difference is they didn't have the offense in New England that they have this year. They went out and spent $400 trillion on the first day of free agent signing and bought a team. That team wasn't there whenever Cam Newton was there.
No, you're right there. You're right.
Yeah, I agree too. And I'll also go this far to say I didn't think Cam was going to make it to the Panthers because I thought hopefully that once Jameis Winston went down that the Saints would try to save their season by signing him. And yet again, I get to look up at Cam Newton in the division, Tom Brady in the division. Saints fans pretty much, we can just forget it. You know what I mean? Michael Thomas being gone, Drew Brees first year gone, we're done. So seeing Cam back in there, I think that he's really going to make a threat, like make a run at the division. Like he changes the Panthers into a contender immediately.
No, I agree too. And it is Cam Newton, so we know what we kind of get with him. He's going to be the guy that's going to try to run the ball. He's not going to sit back there and really pick apart defenses with his arm. But if they can utilize little screens to CMC, that run pass option offense that he's good at running, they could make a bit of a run. Plus, like you mentioned, Harvey, in that NFC South, 2 out of the 4 teams aren't really that great this year. The Falcons and the Saints are very beatable. And here lately, it's looked like the Buccaneers don't have it all together either. They've had a lot of injury concerns, and they're just trying to limp their way to the playoffs.
Completely agree. I think I said something to you this weekend, which might have touched you at the wrong time, but I told you I'm starting to see the decline in Tom Brady that somehow he staved off for 3 or 4 years more than any other quarterback that came out of his draft class. Like just doing this stuff at an unbelievable age. You have to, Father Time eventually wins with everybody, right? I don't think they've fallen off to the point where they won't be in the playoffs. I could easily see Carolina overtaking them in the division.
It's very possible. JC, I'm looking for my links right now so that I can send you I'm looking for my inbox right now on Facebook so I can send you the link. We'll get you in here too, and you can talk with us. JC is the host of his own show I believe he does his show on Saturday nights, and we'll get him in here and get his opinion on some of this stuff. While we're waiting on that, let's go ahead and talk about the Pats first. The Patriots did have some notable firsts in their game on Sunday as well. And first of all, it was the first time that a Patriots rookie quarterback ever threw 3 touchdowns with 0 interceptions. Something that old TB12 didn't do when he was a rookie, something that Drew Bledsoe never did when he was a rookie. Going back throughout the entire history of the New England Patriots, they've never had a rookie quarterback go out there and throw 3 touchdowns with 0 picks in the same game. Mac Jones did it. The Mac Daddy is out there, and he is lighting up scoreboards. Harvey, you were the benefactor on fantasy because you picked him up, plugged him in for Kyler Murray, who didn't play this week, and you racked up 20-plus points or so from Mac Jones this week. So this guy, he's out there, he's lighting it up. And another first that we saw was that this was the first time that the New England Patriots have scored 45-plus points in back-to-back home games ever. lighten it up.
And all those points were actually unanswered.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. They gave up the opening drive touchdown to the Browns, and that's about it.
And
You
you
know-
were down to your third string running back and beyond, right? Like the first two levels were out, weren't they?
Well, we went into the game thinking that it was going to be the third string running back, which would have been Brandon Bolden. But early that morning, it was announced that Ramondre Stevenson, the second string running back, was cleared from his concussion protocol.
Okay.
So the second string running back technically was the guy that got the start. But this was the running back that lit it up in preseason. Everybody fell in love with this guy in the Patriots organization. He's the reason that Sonny Michel got traded. And he got hurt early in the season, and you haven't really seen too much of him or heard much from him. And he's been just plugged in a little bit. But now that it was his time to shine, he went out there and he absolutely balled. And I was the benefactor of that one in fantasy football this week.
That sounds a lot like the guy from Cleveland, Ernest Johnson. He's definitely going to get paid when his time comes and he can go somewhere else, because he's proven that Cleveland's offensive line is evidently great, because every running back that runs behind that line has success.
And while you mentioned Ernest Johnson, I have to make another big time first for the Nest podcast. And this is the first time that I'm really going to have to eat crow live on the air. And that's because on Saturday night on our Champ to Champ special, Zach and I were talking about Johnson, and we said, yep, don't start him. We're sleeping on him. He's not going to be worth it. I have to eat some crow because he did go out there and he looked like he belonged against the Pats defense. And that's saying something, because this is a Pats defense that's been shutting people down. Hey guys,
yeah.
We also have another guest joining us now. Like I said, he does host his own show, and this is the big dog.
What up, man?
What's up, man? Whoa, your mic is super loud, brother. Can you turn that down a little bit, or?
Is it good now?
Yeah, you're getting a little bit better. All right.
I feel his pain.
Is it better now?
Yeah, it's a little bit better.
Is it better now?
Maybe move it away from your mouth just a little bit.
How's it now?
That sounds great.
Okay, all right, my fault, fellas. What's going on?
Not much, man. How you doing? Go ahead and what's the name of your show again? I forgot the name.
The name of my show is called The Extra Point.
The Extra Point, that's right. And it's a football-based show, and he does it every Saturday night. So check him out. But what did you think? We'll just bring you in, throw you right into the fire. What did you think of that Patriots game that happened?
Man,
the Browns.
You want to talk about domination? It was domination all the way across the board. Baker couldn't do nothing. There was no answer. Y'all defense is really something special for real. If you take the time to look at what happened last year, you had a lot of guys that opted out due to COVID reasons. You had some injuries also. Gilmore, I don't know what was going on in that area at the time, whether I was trying to get rid of him, or not, but he wasn't playing for a different player of the year before. He wasn't playing like that at all. So you get all these guys, then you add these pieces like Matt Judon. I feel like that was our best signing out of any year free agents, if you ask me. It is Matt Judon. Matt Judon playing at an elite level, and now y'all see all these pieces together, especially the ones that opted out, and then the ones you have now, and putting them all together along with your rookies. Man, it was dominant, man. It was no answer. Baker looked sad out there. He did.
Yeah,
and it sucks because you watch what he did to the Bengals the week before. He put 40 on them. You come in, and then I will say, what really affected them is not having that running game. They're a run-first base team. So when they don't have Nick Chubb, they don't have Kareem Hunt, they have the backup man. Y'all just found a way to shut that down, forcing him to throw. He throwing these interceptions, he's missing these plays, and it's just and New England just took it to him all day long.
Yeah,
the game's over third quarter.
I don't want to beat up Baker too much because he got beat up plenty in that game. In fact, he left the game early because he was injured. So there is that also. But Harvey, I mentioned that you were the benefactor of Mac Jones in fantasy. What do you think about him going forward? And you mentioned earlier about how Jamar Chase should be running away with the Rookie of the Year. Where does Mac Jones fit in that conversation?
If he keeps pace in New England, being a game manager, that's what he perfectly did yesterday. Was while he was in there, he executed the plays that were called. The handoffs, there were no, hiccups, there were no fumbles. Everything was just like a streamlined butterfly. It was like like a muscle car just running perfect, right? Mac Jones has to be considered in that rookie of the year conversation if this team is even contending for a wild card spot, because he didn't have the same kind of campaign hype, whatever you want to say, going into it. Everybody kind of expected Najee to do what Najee's doing to an extent. Maybe he's overperforming, but everybody knew he was going to be great. Alabama puts great players in the league, but their quarterbacks are, as you have pointed out throughout our entire friendship, they don't make it so far in the NFL. You know what I mean? Not everybody ends up being Joe Namath, selling insurance and such. But yeah, man, I think he has to be in that conversation. But at the moment, Jamar Chase is outpacing Justin Jefferson's records, which outpaced Randy Moss, which at this point, like, I feel like we're doing like calculus. I don't know how that's possible. So back to you.
It's a good point, but it's also worth mentioning that Justin Jefferson didn't win Rookie of the Year either. That award ended up going to Justin Herbert, a quarterback. So there's that.
Yep, that's true.
We got somebody coming in saying, "Give me Chase all day," and that's Big Baby, the GOAT from the Big Baby podcast, commenting in there saying Jamar Chase is his choice. Jamar Chase, that's who I picked last week. Zach and I gave our halfway point Rookie of the Year. I said Jamar Chase was mine as well. But I'm with you, Harvey. If Mac Jones is able to keep up this pace, then that's going to leave that impression in the voters' minds, and he's ultimately going to end up getting it, because I think the Rookie of the Year award, much like the MVP award, has kind of turned into a quarterback club.
Absolutely.
You're right.
And one last point about Mac before I pass the mic to the people that know a little bit more about him than I do. I will say this. You know that I was a Jonnu Smith guy for several seasons before this, and I thought this year it was going to be a perfect match made in heaven type thing. Jonnu Smith's been a flop. Jacoby Myers, from what I've seen in the numbers, like, they've not been great. And he was projected to be wide receiver 1.
The thing with Myers is that he's just had a very difficult time finding the end zone. He's had the touches, the yards, and all that stuff. But another first that happened this week was it was his first touchdown as a member of the New England Patriots.
Good time to pick on him, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, yeah, but I just my point being is, he's succeeding, and it's not with the pieces that we expected him to succeed with. He's making Hunter Henry, who was the other piece. He wasn't the main tight end that they signed. Hunter Henry looks like all pro right now.
Yeah, he may very well be an all pro tight end this year based off of the performance that he's had in this first half. Godfather, what do you think about Mac Jones and his chance of being the Rookie of the Year? And anything else you want to add about this game before we move on?
I'm kind of biased, that, as a Patriots fan.
That's fine.
Of course, I'm going to say, yeah, like the other guest said, he needs to be in that conversation, and rightfully so. I think he's proved himself. I think he's earned that right, for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. Absolutely. And I think he will be in that conversation come the end of the season. I actually put up a couple polls today, and I put up one on my Twitter, which, like you, Godfather, is a little bit biased. And I had 89% of the people say that Mac Jones should be the Rookie of the Year. However, in the Sportszilla group that we have, he only got like 2 or 3 votes out of the like 30 people that voted. So a lot of Patriots haters in that group, apparently. So another first from this Sunday was that the Chiefs moved into first place in the AFC West for the very first time this season.
Just like that. Just like that.
So now all of a sudden, the Chargers were hot. They started to drop off. The Raiders started out hot, and then we all know the dumpster fire that turned into the Las Vegas Raiders. And the Denver Broncos, we knew they wouldn't be able to sustain. And now the Kansas City Chiefs are right back where a lot of people said they belonged all along, in first place in that division. But for the first time this season, it's kind of interesting that it took them 10 weeks to kind of assert their dominance in that division. And in that game, it was also the very first time in NFL history that a fork found on the field stopped play. What did you guys think of that? And that's a viral clip that's been going around on all the sports shows, so I'm sure
I'm
you've seen
obviously like to a fork in the field.
I blame Baker Mayfield. He's the problem.
I believe it was Pat McAfee that tweeted out that he blames Chris Angel from a stunt that he performed a couple weeks prior to that for dropping a fork out of his straitjacket or whatever it was, because the Raiders had a performance from Chris Angel where he was suspended from the big screen that they have over the 50-yard line, and he was hanging upside down with a straitjacket. He had to get out of it. McAfee suspects that he dropped a fork then, and it was just kind of like, oh, nobody noticed it. But then the Chiefs and the Raiders were lined up, and one of the Raiders players bent down and picked it up and was like, hey, there's a fork right here. No kidding, fork on the field stopped the game. Pretty wild to see, but what do you guys think about the Chiefs being back in first place? Harvey, I know you're from the Show Me State, so why don't you talk about the Chiefs a little bit?
Oh, yeah. Well, I first of all, I apologize because I ill-advised you in a trade that involved one of those Chiefs that were really good this weekend. I kind of felt like Kelsey was also starting to get exposed, and kind of people were starting to figure out a way to shut him down. And then obviously 1 week later, 8 catches, 119 yards. Like, I mean, he was just dominant all game.
Kelsey's going to have those games though. But this season, he has had the downward spiral of a year for him, at least, because it's not been what we expected. Last year, 8 catches for 120 yards was about his average. This year, that's a breakout game.
Their defense was better last year too, though. I don't remember.
Defense is garbage this year.
I can't really tell you like the names of specific. I think it was like Frank Clark was one of them. But I don't even want to try. Tyrann Mathieu was definitely one of them, but he's still there. I think Kansas City just had a complete team. They looked like they were like assumed to be in a Super Bowl, contender spot for years to come. And then when this season started, I don't know. My sister has a funny nickname for Patrick Mahomes. I don't know if you guys notice. He always walks the huddle like this, like he's like trying to hear in his ear. But she calls him Old Swimmer's Ear. So Old Swimmer's Ear finally like got the team chemistry going and was able to find Cheetah. And McCall Hardman had a good game, I believe. It's just weird seeing an Andy Reid team that has that much talent come out the chute that slow, because Andy Reid's a great coach.
Yeah. And this may trigger you because you're a New York Yankees fan, and one of your players also has the same nickname, but I think the going nickname for Patrick Mahomes is Kermit, just like it is for Garrett Cole. But the defense, you hit on a good point with that one. They have opted to spend so much money on the offensive side of the ball that they really can't afford to keep up that defense. So I think they're going to be like this for several years, where they have one of the best offenses in the league, but they also have one of the best or worst defenses in the league.
I'll be able to pass this to one of your guests real quick, but I've got to get it in there since we're talking about it. For about a decade before you retired, that's all I got to do was watch Sundays as the Saints defense would struggle to keep Drew Brees' leads. So, yeah, I'm very used to that kind of football, and I think that's exactly what's happening this year with Kansas City. But I'm passing it along.
Go ahead, big dog. You take this next.
All right, for me, I think it was more of like trying to get them to gel. If you notice, the offensive line has been revamped from the ones they had last year. You know what I'm saying? The three of the four offensive linemen didn't even play in that Super Bowl game. So why a lot of the reasons why Patrick Mahomes struggled, there's no chemistry. He has to build this chemistry. So I feel like it came with a struggle with the chemistry with the O-line. The defense is very bad, and they solely relying on Patrick Mahomes' arm. So when you got your defense that's terrible, and I think it's still terrible. I think it's probably the best game on defense I've seen this far, but the defense is terrible. So when you keep putting the offense back on the field over and over and over and over again, what do you think going to happen? You know what I'm saying? So I feel like the chemistry finally clicked for these guys. These guys finally started getting sacks. These guys finally started getting turnovers now. The defense played phenomenally. That's the best I've seen. So Patrick Mahomes was able to make the plays now. But if you keep putting the defense keep putting back on the field over and over, and they're not doing that from you, what do you expect going to happen? This is going to happen to you. So I feel like when you have a bad defense, your offensive line is not protecting you. Patrick Mahomes is running for his life, trying to make these spiral plays. It ain't happening. You know what I'm saying? So finally, it happened last night, and he played a phenomenal game. The line was able to protect him, keep him all right. There was no standout, no sacks. He didn't turn the ball over because they was able to protect him without him trying to escape the pocket. I feel like every time he escaped the pocket, teams was making plays on him with the interceptions, whether it was bounce off the hands or helmet, or the defense is just making a play. So I feel like when the chemistry clicked together, I feel like you saw what he would do. He threw for 400 yards and 5 TDs. He killed their secondary. You know what I'm saying? With the potential of his O-line. Now that his O-line is progressing now, I think they're gonna be okay. I'm just concerned about the defense.
Yep, and the defense will always be a concern for the Chiefs. Godfather, you got anything?
I do want to say they did, like John said, they did gel very well last night. They were looking like they should. They looking like they should have this whole season, but again, like Brandon said, 10 weeks to kind of get everything together, get their mind straight or whatever. I don't know. On a side note, I have both Patrick Mahomes and Brady in my fantasy, and last week Patrick Mahomes only gave me 9 points. So I benched his ass for Brady. Now, well, I guess Karma just does not like me. I'm like, Brady got like 12 points, and I don't know, Patrick Mahomes, he was at like 24 last I checked. And
he got a bunch. He ended up with about, 36 points, I believe it was. Yeah,
I got him on both of my fantasy leagues, so he did me justice finally. He gave me 36 points.
Yeah. I have my notes for a later segment when we talk about fantasy booms and busts that this is the first time all year that he's really done what everybody drafted him to do.
Right.
And Godfather, you're in an odd situation because you've got Tom Brady, who has basically been one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks in fantasy, and then you've got Patrick Mahomes, who is expected to be one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks in fantasy. So it is kind of a difficult decision each and every week that you have to face. I guess you've been playing matchups and hopefully just getting the right guess.
Well, the thing with Tom Brady in our draft, just like in the real NFL, he wasn't drafted to like 12th round. I mean, no one wanted him because I kind of had my eye on him. But no one's picking him. I'm like, why isn't anyone picking Tom Brady? Because I don't know why. So I just whatever, because I'm a New England guy, whatever. So I picked him up. I got flack from it, but it's just not working this year.
Going into the draft, Zach and I, we do our Saturday night fantasy football show. Going into the draft, we were telling people to hold off on drafting quarterbacks. Yeah, you could have got Kyler Murray in the 4th. Yeah, you could have got Patrick Mahomes potentially in the 3rd or the 4th, whatever the case may be. In both of my drafts where I drafted fresh lineups, I got Tom Brady in the 10th and I got Matt Stafford in the 11th. You can wait and get quality quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers would usually go around the 10th or the 11th round. Guys like that are going to get you solid points in fantasy football. That way you're able to spread the love out and build your team with other skill players that are harder to find later in drafts. Anyway, not to get too far off topic, that's just my little 2 cents about drafting quarterbacks in fantasy football. Unless you get one of those marquee ones that just happen to fall in your lap, just wait on them.
Right. While we're on the fantasy and the marquee, so I was thinking about this earlier. Up until Kamara was out last week, I was feeling really solid about drafting him at number 2 because Dalvin Cook's missed time, CMC's missed time, Derrick Henry's out. So I was feeling really good about, Kamara being the 2nd overall pick that I made. And now, as everybody knows, he's out and we don't know for how long. It's an MCL injury. It's undisclosed how long he's going to be out. But the marquee names, and I'm thinking like Ezekiel Elliott might be the only running back from the 1st round. Him and Eckler are the only 2 that haven't been injured out of the marquee names at least in our drafts.
And Eckler's been questionable several times. He was questionable coming into this week, and I think he was questionable week 1 or 2 of the season as well. So he's battled injuries, but they haven't been serious injuries.
Yeah. And it gets to a point that I was trying to make that you had made earlier this season. You were like, normally people gear their team toward trying to draft the best running back first and then outward. You said this was the year of the power receiver. And I mean, you you've pretty much called that shot, and then you drafted Jamar Chase, which made you doubly right, But yeah, it's looking like the people that passed up on Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill in the first round, they're really kicking themselves over it right now.
Your boy's a champ for a reason. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
He always has that belt handy to show off anyone who wants to look at it.
It's a beautiful belt, man.
Wouldn't you if you had a belt?
Well, yeah, of course I would.
Stuff high five.
I might not have that belt, but I got this one, so I'm okay with
it. He's got his belt handy too. Hey, if you're a champ, you got to keep it nearby. You don't know who's lurking trying to get it from you.
I got a
belt. But before we go too far off topic, guys, let's take a look at the current standings, and if the season were to end today, what our playoffs would look like. And I don't know if you guys are really going to be able to see this or not. Let me know if it's too small for you guys to really see anything.
Yeah, that's way too small. I can't see it.
Way too small. All right. So we'll just talk about it. In the AFC, the Titans, believe it or not, are still the first seed. If the season ended today, the Tennessee Titans would be the number 1 seed going into the playoffs. Of course, I don't think this is going to really stand without Derrick Henry, without Julio, who's on IR now and will miss 3 games, and 3 games minimum. AJ Brown really hasn't performed at the level that we thought that he would or should this season. So the Tennessee Titans, I think, will start to see a bit of a regression. They're going to start losing some games. They're going to drop from that standings. So what teams do we see that could possibly move up and take that number 1 seed? The AFC is kind of a toss-up.
Yeah, it is.
Anybody got a thought on who's going to be?
As much as I hate these guys, it got to be Baltimore. I say that because they got the quality quarterback, Lamar Jackson. Man, he leads this team to win. Yeah, they wasn't on the side of that this past Thursday, but overall, he makes them a playoff team. He does. I feel like if the Chiefs get the deals together, they can be back up there. Maybe not enough to get number 1, but they can probably get their way back there for postseason. But I think the Ravens got the best chance. I really think they do. They could that defense. They could.
You're saying out of the entire AFC or just that division?
Out of the entire AFC, who can take that first seed?
So, this is a hot take that'll probably get shot to shit just by the next few weeks, right?
Those are the takes we love around here.
Okay, I like Joe Burrow and them to make a run, and I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to make it to the Super Bowl, but they're going to upset 1 or 2 teams on their way. I see that coming.
That is a hot take right now. The Bengals are the outside looking in. They would finish 8th place right now if the season were to end today. So they have the same record as the Chargers, who are sitting in the 7th seed right now. But tiebreaker and strength of schedule gives it to the Chargers. So the Bengals would miss out, but you're saying that there's a chance that they could go on a bit of a run and play spoiler down the stretch.
Yes, sir. Even make it in themselves. I mean, if they make it in themselves, we've seen Joe Burrow at his best. Everybody watched in college what he was able to do against, the playoff teams, and then he got his best receiver to 1 year after he got into the pros to his team. So, when you've got that kind of a relationship, it's like Jerry Rice and Joe Montana had, but coming into the NFL with it. You know what I'm saying? They built that at LSU. You know what I mean? They kept that, and who knows if they probably worked off during the, in between the seasons and stuff together. So,
sure. So just to give you an idea of what the Bengals will be facing coming out of their Week 10 bye, they go to Week 11 to Las Vegas to play the Raiders. Then they play at home against the Steelers, then the Chargers, then also at home against the 49ers, travel to Denver to play the Broncos in Week 15. Week 16, they have the Ravens. 17, they have the Chiefs. And then they finish out the season going to Cleveland to play the Browns. So they don't have the easiest schedule remaining, but they do have some winnable games in there, and they do have that chance to play spoiler to some teams.
They're going to have to win now, though, because that backstretch, the teams you listed the last 2 or 3 weeks there, that's a gauntlet.
It's tough.
Real quick, the 3 teams with the highest remaining schedule is the Chiefs, the Bengals, and Cleveland. So that's the top 3 remaining toughest schedules right now. So I don't see them doing that. I don't. And then the way they lost to Cleveland and have to play them again, I don't know. It'll be tough.
Yeah, it could be very tough. Like Harvey said, I think they have to win out the first part of that. They have to be able to go to Vegas and beat the Raiders. They have to be able to beat your Steelers at home. And then they also have to be able to beat either the Chargers or the 49ers, preferably the Chargers for them since it's AFC.
Right.
So they need to win some games quick and get that out of the way.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for not killing me on that one because I know that's like a shaky limb to go out on.
Yeah, that'd be a miracle.
I'm a who dat, not a who day. So
I'm going to bring in another
Stranger things
voice
have
right
happened
now.
in the NFL. You know that.
Yes, sir.
So
I'm going to add another voice to the show tonight. We've got another guest that's coming in here. So this is another first for the Nest podcast where we just have a ton of voices and we're getting to hear all the opinions tonight.
Can somebody be like Stephen Smith and just talk over everybody, or is that me?
Our next guest is the host of a streaming platform called Growing Up 8-Bit, and he's recently started getting into the sports market by doing trading card breaks, and he's moving into the football and baseball memorabilia game. Please welcome Ian from Growing Up 8-Bit. Ian, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
Hello, bro.
Oh, I don't think he can hear us. He can hear us. We can't hear him.
but we can't hear him.
Yeah, while he figures that out, we'll just keep going.
There we go. I think I got
There
it.
he goes. Yeah, we can hear him now.
Sorry about that. I got too many microphones.
No, it's all good. Yeah, I understand. When you're a streamer, you've got stuff everywhere, and it happens. Ian, we're talking about the AFC. I know you're a Carolina fan, right? In football.
Yeah, I like Carolina, right? But I got Buffalo's near and dear to my heart. Being growing up, watching the Bills hit them 4 Super Bowls. That was something that sticks out. That's my first football memories. So Buffalo's always held a special place.
Yeah, those are bad football memories if you're a Bills fan.
No.
But the Bills this year, they are 6-3. They are the number 2 seed. They are the number 1 team right now in the AFC East by about half a game because the New England Patriots are about to start cramming it down their throats. But as of right this second, they are the number 1 team on pace to win the AFC East. And they could be the team that goes on the run towards the end of the season to take that number 1 overall seed away from the Tennessee Titans. So, Ian, how do you see their season finishing out?
Well, I think you'll have 2 playoff teams come out of the East, and then potentially 2 out of the West. So you can take your pick with Buffalo and New England going back and forth 1 and 2. I think right there is going to be your AFC champs going to come from one of them 2 teams. Chiefs are down this year. Raiders had a chance early. I don't see them kind of bringing it back. NFC North is, I'm not going to say terrible, but I don't see anybody making a run out there. I mean, Baltimore may surprise some people, but I think Lamar Jackson's kind of like Patrick Mahomes. People are starting to figure him out, so it's not quite working.
Interesting. So he's got the eventual AFC champion being out of the AFC East. I could get on board with that, especially if it's the New England Patriots.
Shocker.
So that would be a hot take right there, I think, for a lot of people, saying that the eventual AFC champion is going to be the AFC East. The Bills would probably be the one that everybody thinks of most or first in that conversation because they were there last year. They were very close to making it last year. They just fell a little bit short. I remember Stephon Diggs standing there watching the Chiefs celebrate, and he had that this isn't going to happen to us again mentality. And I could see the Bills going on a pretty hot run. They do play the Patriots twice on this back half of the season. They haven't played yet this year. So those games are going to be very, very telling and who's going to win this division ultimately. Any of you other guys have thoughts about the Bills or any of the other AFC teams before we move on to the NFC?
I just think the Bills, they have a complete team. Their defense is really good, and they've kind of carried. Josh hasn't played as good this season, and it's something that happens with a lot of players when they sign their big contracts. It's like the next year, they kind of play mediocre, and the fan bases immediately are like, "Why did we pay this guy? We paid him too much." They second guess themselves. When in reality, you paid the guy because he's taken you further than anybody since Jim Kelly, and just to give the Bills fans credit, like, would you rather have watched them lose 4 Super Bowls in the 90s, or would you rather have watched Randall Cunningham never make it? Right? I mean,
Good point.
they were perennially contenders, and if it wasn't for Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith, they probably would have got one.
I mean, that is a good point. It's better to get there than to never even see it happen. I live in Jacksonville, Florida now, so I have all of the Jags fans that have been like, well, we've been a team since 95. That's about it.
Yeah, they got a pretty girl playing quarterback now too, don't they?
Yeah, there is that. The lead singer of Hanson.
Sunshine from Remember the Titans.
So over in the NFC, things are a little bit more, I guess, one-sided, if you will, because you've got the Packers that are up at the top, sitting at 8-2. Everyone, they think that this is going to be the team to beat in the NFC, and then you've got some other teams that they may make a run, they may challenge for that, but ultimately they probably won't have enough firepower to beat the Pack this year. The Cardinals also at 8-2. They've been good, but they definitely don't good whenever Kyler Murray's not back there. And if D-Hop can't get right, then you can't expect a huge explosion out of James Conner every week. The injury bug is just kind of taking their toll on them. The Cowboys, they them boys, and they're going to always mess it up at some point. And then the Buccaneers, we've talked about them a little bit. Do you guys think that there's anybody out there in the NFC that's going to really make the run to upset the Packers?
Yeah.
Yep.
Take your pick. Aaron Rodgers is supposed to be the savior for Green Bay, and he has as many Super Bowl wins as Brett Favre, and everybody holds him up on a higher pedestal.
Good point.
I mean, you look at any other quarterback, he's got 1 Super Bowl ring. That's it.
Good point.
I mean, he's not done anything in Green Bay, anything more than what's been done there before. So
he's only got one more than Arch Manning, and Arch hadn't even made it yet.
Yeah.
Big Doug, you got something?
Yeah. Oh, you asked who can top Green Bay? I hate to say it. Outside of the Bucs, I think the Bucs can do it. I think they can do it. Yeah, they finding their way, but they're not the team I'm really thinking they could do it. I hate to say it, but the Dallas Cowboys, they're firing on all cylinders on every phase of the field right now. Offense, defense, even their special teams are showing it right now. Like this team is competing. Like they were a field goal away from winning against Tampa when they first met them. It was a 2 point somewhere in the area. You know what I'm saying? Like, but they're clicking right now. They dominated 5 years with the Falcons, but they dominate. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they didn't play white against Denver. I don't think Dak should have played that game. If you ask me, he just came back. I don't think he should have played that game. Should let Cooper Rush continue because he was on a hot streak. I feel like it was bad luck when he did that. But outside of that, the Dallas Cowboys, I think it could be a serious threat to them. Seriously, because they have some that the Packers don't. They have a great defense.
Absolutely true.
And Dak proves he can compete with anybody.
Man, they've got the defensive rookie of the year. I think there's not even an argument to be made. Parsons.
The Dallas Cowboys, they were the only team that a quarterback has had success against the Patriots defense. Every other quarterback has looked mediocre against that defense, even in a loss. Even in losing games against the Patriots, the quarterbacks haven't really shined except for Dak Prescott. So yeah, the Cowboys could make a run, and we've got a comment rolling in here saying that the Rams are going to win it all.
That was what I was going to say as well. As if I was going to pick a team that we haven't discussed, they absolutely have the best defense as far as in their division, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
They've added some key pieces. I mean, it doesn't matter whether you like Odell Beckham or not. He's gonna attract a certain amount of attention. That's going to open the field for Darrell Henderson to run, for Cooper Kupp to keep dominating. Without that Robert Woods injury, I mean, I would say that they would have been favorites, but I don't know if they survived that injury because he was like their number one wide receiver coming into this season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. Jared dropped the fact that the Packers have had 2 top 10 quarterbacks in the last 30 years. They've only managed 2 championships. Part of that was because there was a 20-year run from another team that happened to be a cold weather team that won a lot of them. But you're right. They always run into something in the NFC championship game that keeps them from getting over that hump. They ran into the Saints a few years. They ran into the Seahawks a few years, and they always just had something that was lacking. This year, may be different. The Packers may have finally got that entire team together to be able to move past the NFC championship, and we'll see if Aaron Rodgers gets him a second one. But there are some good teams in the NFC that will step up. And, the strength of schedule, you said that the Bucs were one of the teams that had a stronger schedule, if I remember right. Some of these teams I'm looking at, they have a pretty cake end of the year. The Cowboys, for example, they have the Chiefs. That's their hardest game, it looks like. They do have 2 games against the Washington football team, which gave Brady fits this week. But without Chase Young, are they going to be the same defense that they could be?
Right.
I hated seeing that injury, man. I think he was going to be a face of the franchise type. Like, I'm not going to say Lawrence Taylor level because that's blasphemous, but he had the potential to be that guy, that basis for Washington to start building
he still
around.
can. He's on his second year. He still can. He got time to make that happen.
You're right. It's just those injuries when they happen, they're non-contact.
You're right.
They're scary, man.
Absolutely.
And I hate seeing a career like his if it gets cut down short, man. It's just like what could have been, And it's just I hate to see that happen. Even if it's teams I don't like, even if it's guys I don't like personally, how they conduct themselves off the field, I don't want to see anybody lose their livelihood on the field.
You know how scared I was when TJ went down. I can't have this happening, man. It's somebody going to Pittsburgh. We're not talking about that right now, but I was scared.
Anytime a star player goes down injured, the entire fan base has that pucker factor. So,
Michael Thomas.
I understand that completely. And, Michael Thomas, that situation has just been terrible for your Saints this year.
Is there a chance to let him go?
Bro, you know what? If they were going to do it, then they would have had to have already done it. I think that now that they've done, like let him show his ass, and like he posts like song lyrics on Twitter. Like it's like I really stand out for this guy, right? Like I bought his rookie cards, I bought his all pro jersey, and then like Drew Brees retired, and all of a sudden it's like he wanted to take his little ball and go home. And I mean, they call him slant boy, slant route boy, whatever. You know what I mean? Hell, he ain't even doing that. I'd love to see a slant route. Get your ass on the field, dude.
I feel you, man. You do a lot more when you're just running one play than you do when you're sitting on the bench for the entire year.
Is he signed?
Yes, he is. He got a supermax, and then a February ankle surgery that the doctors had recommended to him. He didn't want to have it, and he wanted to just let it naturally heal until June, when he decided his own doctors were right that he should have the surgery. And he was supposed to come back already, but we all know why he's not. He don't think there's a contender there, and honestly, I don't blame him. I don't see a contender there either. I wouldn't want to come back and tear my one good leg up. Trying to catch passes from Trevor Siemian, who I don't know, man. Like I'm at the point where I'm like, let's put the Storm and Mormon in, and you know how bad he's played, but I'm ready to see Taysom time again.
Yeah, I've never been that impressed with Taysom Hill, but what's up, Ian?
I'm gonna make a bold prediction because you guys are sleeping on one NFC team, and that's my team. That's the Panthers. Panthers are 2-0 in the division.
All right, hold up. Go ahead, Alex. Talk. Go ahead.
They're 2-0 in the division. They've only gave up 193 points. They've gave up less points than what the Bucs have. They've got the win over the Bucs. They've got the Bucs one more time. They got Falcons 2 times, I believe. I think the Saints was the other one. So they've only got to play Bucs and Saints one more time. They got Atlanta twice. They've got a pretty easy schedule. McCaffrey's back. Shaq's back. You got Cam Newton is back and taking the first team snaps. My bold prediction right now, I'm going to say your Super Bowl is going to be a Super Bowl rematch. It's going to be Pats and Panthers.
Get out of here.
Negative, sir. Negative, sir.
I was
November
here when it
15th, I'm
happened,
saying
so
it
if
right
he's
now.
Negative,
right,
sir.
if he,
15th, I'm saying it right now.
Hey,
man,
here's the deal. Here's the deal.
I like the
I,
pass. That's
I'm
good.
actually happy I got Cam Newton back because the watching what Sam Darnold was doing over the last couple weeks, it was horrible. You haven't been winning no games. You just won your first game without a Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. That's number one. You know what I'm saying? But I give credit due because the next man mentality. The problem is the Bucks is right there in your face. You're not looking so good right now, but remember last year they started off real slow around this time of year, and they won every game and won the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? So I get it. I see y'all being a wildcard team, but I don't think y'all go no farther than that. I don't see that.
I disagree, and I said it before he came on, so he didn't hear me. But I actually think Carolina is going to overtake Tampa Bay, and like I said,
Have they played yet this season?
as I'm
No,
sorry.
I'm looking. I thought they had, but it looks like they beat the Saints and Falcons.
Yeah,
they beat Falcons. So I thought they had played Tampa Bay. So
Okay, see what I'm saying? They got to play them first, so we don't know right now.
But they just got
Twice.
their number one weapon back, and then they also got the quarterback that established their franchise as a contender.
Very
back
true.
at the same
But you know
time.
what the problem is? You got a liability over there in their running back position at CMC. The guy can't seem to stay healthy, man. He's on and off, man. The only way they can make a push is if he stay healthy. They need him. And I'm glad they got Cam Newton back. I'm happy for them. He
You're
showed up. He made his plays.
100,000% on that.
But CMC has to stay healthy, man. You have to if they're going to make a push.
Yeah,
What's
it's the
funny-
same thing for Kamara, dude. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Brandon. But if our team even wants to compete, Kamara has to be out there. So yeah, I agree. CMC is the key.
Right.
What's funny to me right now about all the Panthers fans is when they let Cam Newton go, and then he ended up unemployed for 86 days, and then Bill Belichick threw him a bone and said, "Hey, come play in New England. We'll teach you how to be a quarterback in the professional football league." All of the Panthers fans were like, he's washed up. He sucks anyway. He's not going to be good for you guys. But now that he's back, they're sitting there standing the Superman. They're saying, "Oh, our guy is home." I don't. He did good, but like Big Dog said, it was against an Arizona Cardinals team that's injured, and they didn't have Kyler Murray. They didn't have D-Hop. They weren't able to really score the ball.
Right.
James Conner's not going to get you 4 touchdowns every week.
Nah.
They found that out this week. Play some good teams, then let me know. Next up for the Carolina Panthers, they have the Washington football team, which, like we said earlier, without Chase Young, we don't really know what we're going to get. But Heineke looks like he can move the football, so their offense at least looks like it's halfway decent. Then they played the Dolphins, who can surprise teams, as the Baltimore Ravens found out. Then they've got the Bucks twice. They've also got the Bills in Buffalo, and they have the Saints one more time in the Dome. So they have a pretty tough last half of their schedule coming up. We'll see what happens, Ian, though. But if you call it, hey, I'll clip it and I'll throw it all over the internet and give you tons of credit.
I'm also the only guy here wearing a Mighty Ducks jersey to a NFL talk. So,
hey, I'm with that. We got Harvey at the top of the screen wearing New York Yankee stuff, so yeah, it is what it is. We'll let anybody.
Let me lean back and show my Wu-Tang stuff, so you can't quit mentioning them losing ass Yankees.
Guys, it's been a lot of fun. I've appreciated all of you guys coming on here. Is there anything else that any of you want to add to the show, or anything you want to plug? All right, go ahead,
real quick. Okay, no,
we'll go down the list.
I have nothing to plug. I just want everybody to remember the name Kennedy Chandler. He was the number 1 point guard coming out of high school. UT has got a good coach now with Rick Barnes. He coached Durant when he was in college. Watch out for UT this year in college basketball. That's something that we don't have time to talk about or get into, but I just wanted to drop it there.
Tennessee Vols possible contenders in the NCAA this year might be a sleeper pick for your March Madness brackets. Godfather, got anything you want to plug or anything you want to say?
Wait.
Oh,
yeah, there we go, right there. That's all I got to say. Enough said.
Sounds good. Let's go, Pats. Big Dog, what you got?
My Steelers are in trouble, so I will ask all y'all to pray for me, please. I go through this hard time right now. I got two of my top guys with COVID right now. Mika will not be playing this week. Ben will not be playing this week. Joe Hayden is hurt. Kevin Dawson, my best lineman, is hurt. Yeah, like Kelly Poole's not coming back. Like, I'm hurt right now. So just pray for me.
It's rough right now.
It's rough.
And the Steelers right now, they're sitting at 5-3-1. They're clinging to their playoff life. It's going to be a rough road.
I'm
Send
hurt.
those guys to Dr. Rogan. I mean, he got Rodgers back out on the field within a week, dude.
I'm still going to
Like,
support
for
my
real.
guys, though. Still going to support my guys.
Ian, do you want to go ahead and plug your new card page as well as your
Yeah.
Grown Up 8-Bit?
Yeah, so I got two things to plug. One is I'll plug my page really quick for the video games. If you guys are into video games, check me out at facebook.com/growingup8bit. And then if you want to get in on some sports cards breaks, if you guys have not seen break.
And he got dropped mid-plug. What he was going to say is he's also doing card breaks. So if you guys are into any kind of cards, what he's doing is he's getting people to buy for their specific team. So if you're a Pats fan, you buy only Pats cards. If you're a Saints fan, you buy only Saints. Steelers, same thing. You pay that money for whatever he values those teams at. Whenever he breaks open these rare boxes, you get all the cards for that team that come out of that box.
Crazy.
So
Yeah,
you
it's a pretty cool deal.
Can you put his information in the podcast, in the
Sure.
comments?
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely. I'll put
A
it
link
in
or
the,
something?
in the
Right.
Yep.
So typically,
absolutely.
like I've seen those breaks happen, man, and it's like you have a much better chance of getting money back on your investment because it's only like $10 or $20 to buy a spot, and there's only so many spots, it's like 10 spots, for a helmet, or a jersey signed by somebody that would be, $500 if you went to buy it on eBay.
Yeah,
So
you
I
can
mean,
win
I
it
like
for
this guy's
30.
business
Yeah.
model.
Yeah, and he's doing that with cards. He's planning to get into it with jerseys and helmets and all kinds of stuff. He's trying to get it going and build up his group. So if you guys would share out his stuff in all of your sports groups,
Absolutely.
and all that stuff, really help him out. All right, well, guys, I thank you so much for coming on and for being part of the show tonight. We wish Zach a happy anniversary, and he will be back this coming Saturday night for Champ to Champ. Oh, looks like Ian's back. Ian, I finished out your plug for you, bud.
Yeah.
Hey, also is
everybody sucking up the internet and just killing everything.
Oh, true.
Yeah,
And also,
you're
it'd be
in
my
a
fiance 3-year anniversary today too as well. So.
I want to.
Happy anniversary to you.
Happy
bud.
anniversary, bro.
Appreciate
Yeah,
that,
happy anniversary.
All right,
man.
well, guys, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching and listening along and all the comments that we got tonight. We appreciate all of you. Please be sure to tune in on Saturday night as we attempt to help you win your league and give you the best fantasy football information anywhere on the internet. And maybe you guys will get to hoist your own championship one of these days.
I got mine already.
I'm doing like this. I'm coming for it, baby. I'm doing Aaron
I have
Rodgers.
nothing, so
He's
you
got the
carry
big
on.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you guys later. We out.